Hey gang, I trust this finds you well. Welcome to Mzansi and USA News. Today we are going to talk about Jacob Zuma, the president of MK. Now, I deliberately did not do this video before the elections because I did not want those who listen to it to perceive or believe that the facts I'm about to share with you have anything to do with electioneering. I wanted you to know that these facts stand by themselves true, regardless of the season, whether we are during the elections or after the elections. This is very, very important. Now, we are going to listen to Jacob Zuma and then you'll hear my analysis in between. Let's go.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I am happy to have this opportunity to say something to the people of this country. I know that some decisions have been taken about me, wherein the democracy of this country that has been praised throughout the world exercises the opposite of that. I'm a man who fought for freedom and went to prison for it, and even went to exile, and used everything I had to fight for freedom, perhaps what at times we call democracy. And I've done nothing in this country, done nothing wrong, but the people who are in certain authorities in this country have decided to tell a lot of lie about me. For an example, they've said I was the most corrupt person in this country, but they've never produced a single evidence as to what is it that I did wrong. The only thing I did in this country against the apartheid was to fight for freedom and democracy. And now, when we finally achieved this, some people have been sitting saying how corrupt this man is, but they've never produced a single evidence to that. It was a way of just saying you don't like this Zuma. But unfortunately, I'm a son of the struggle, served under many presidents. I served for the first time at my young age to President of Albert Lutuli, Oliver Tambo, and finally Mandela.
So I want to interject at this moment. I just want to see if I understand correctly what our former president has just said here. Firstly, when he was the president of this country, he slept with a young girl named Kwezi, who was HIV positive. And when asked by a journalist as to why he did that, on a YouTube video that is still available online this day, he said he took a shower. A response that incensed a lot of people, particularly the AIDS activists. Secondly, he slept with Ivan Koza's daughter, a friend of his, and impregnated her. I understand some hammerheads will say there is nothing wrong with that. Well, there is something wrong with that. It's called moral bankruptcy for a leader, particularly an African leader. Then he went and built himself in a rural area called Nkandla, a homestead, which has a bunker. This guy is telling us he did nothing wrong, yet he took 260 million of our taxpayers' money to build himself a house with it, and he is apparently a selfless person. There is something for me that does not make sense here. According to Paul O'Sullivan, a renowned forensic expert in our country here in South Africa, he wrote a book called Stop Me If You Can. he claims that it can now be proven that Zuma and Tutumyeni have a child together. Now, who is Tutumyeni? Tutumyeni is a woman whom Jacob Zuma deployed to be the chairperson, or the ANC under Jacob Zuma deployed to be the chairperson of SAA. Do you remember that? That institution that lost plus minus 5,000 employees when Zuma was, or rather Zuma's deployee was at the helm of that institution. Do you remember that? And Zuma tells us he did nothing wrong. Look at all our state institutions under his leadership, what some people would call misrule. All our parastatals were destroyed under his administration. Now, for all those who have drank Zuma Kool-Aid, I am not saying Ramadola is any better than Zuma. Don't get it twisted. I am not talking about the ANC. I am talking about Jacob Zuma. Pay attention. Zuma is claiming in this video that he did nothing wrong except to fight for our freedom. This is problematic in many ways than one. One, we fought for our freedom. We were never imprisoned, but we faced death daily during apartheid. How do prisoners fight for the free? The quicker our people get this idea out of their heads that there is a group of people that were sitting in some island somewhere fighting for our freedom, the better. Am I denying the role that Zuma and those who were in the island played in the struggle? No, 1,000 times no. I am simply placing it in the proper context. Prisoners cannot fight for the free. The opposite is true. That is why in the Eastern Cape, where I come from, we toiled from 3 solid years, banning schools, not going to school and all that. That's why some of us passed matric only when we were 19, because for 3 solid years we were not going to school, singing that these prisoners should be released. And of course, facing peril of death daily. But the same guys, simply because we didn't go to exile and we were smart enough not to be arrested, now they are telling us that they fought for our freedom, as though we were bystanders with our arms folded during the apartheid era. No, that did not take place. That's why it's wrong for any of them to create an impression that they are more of freedom fighters than those of us who agitated against apartheid regime daily on the streets of South Africa. The fact that those who are in Robben Island believe this lie is a problem enough. But for those of us who faced death daily inside this country on the streets and buried a lot of our comrades who believed the same and were shot dead, some of them right before our eyes, that is nothing short of a delusion. I want to repeat that again. The fact that those who are in Robben Island believe the lie that they are the ones who fought for our freedom exclusively, but for those of us to believe the same, that's delusional. I hope you get my point, because I am saying it's okay for them to believe that lie, but for us to believe the same, that's delusional. And we've got not to mainstream delusion. We've got to correct this delusion. Our freedom was fought for by a collective of whom many are not here to claim that they are heroes and heroines of our struggle. No one individual, therefore, could be credited to being a protagonist in our struggle. That includes Nelson Mandela. Therefore, to create such an impression is nothing short of being asinine. We fought for our own freedom. All of us have contributed. That is why I'm pushing back on an idea of an individual who is amassing wealth for his individual family at the expense of the rest of South Africa. Yes, he was removed from power because of corruption. And he says here in this video, this has not been proven. Amazing. Amazing. He must think that we are all fools. How was this going to be proven when he was the president? Remember, he relieved Mbeki. Perhaps I should put it this way. Mbeki relieved Zuma of his job as a deputy president of the country, not as a deputy president of the ANC, which was the biggest mistake Mbeki could ever have made, because What happened thereafter? What did Zuma do? He did what Zuma does best. He fought politically tooth and nail and deceived a lot of people who today confesses publicly that they were deceived by him. The likes of Blaine Nzimande, the likes of Julius Malema, the likes of Zweli Nzimavavi, they all have a buyer's remorse for persuading South Africans to vote for this man. Zuma literally created a parallel structure in the ANC than what the president of the country had in the government. Hence, I'm saying him not dismissing Zuma in the ANC was the biggest mistake he could have made. Nevertheless, let us proceed with my thoughts here. So, Vavi, Malema, and Nzimande were holding very strategic positions in the alliance of the ANC at the time, and therefore their opinion mattered to such an extent that they were able to persuade the entire Congress in Polokwane to oust Mbeki. That they did, and as they say, the rest is history. This is not to say Zuma is not guilty of what he was alleged to have done by Mbeki. But this explains why the charges were never brought against him. Not because the charges were proven to be false, no. The man was not going to charge himself. Remember that. So Zuma comes from the intelligence. We all know that of the African National Congress. So literally, for all practical purposes, he outsmarted Mbeki. Well, I've dealt with that already. Now, was Zuma going to bring charges or take himself to court when he was a president and go there to prove that he's corrupt? No. That is why this matter has never been proven in any court of law. So it's very important for us to understand we can't be law to ourselves simply because we claim to have fought in the struggle. We don't have a barometer either to measure whose contribution in this struggle is better than the other. Many others lost their lives. They are not even here to speak for themselves. They are not known in this country today. Their children are not known in this country. Why? Because nobody talks about them. Their children are literally forgotten, and some of them are poor because they are not being taken care of by the very same ANC that Zuma led for 9 years. It can't therefore be correct that a man who served 10 years in Robben Island and was an MK soldier can come and tell us that those of us who face death daily for the rest of our lives for as long as apartheid stood, just because we didn't go to exile and we were smart enough not to go to any island, and then now he comes and tell us that he fought for our freedom and therefore he's going to be our spokesperson for the rest of our lives. No, 1,000 times no. And that he is going to be law to himself simply because he has exile credentials and we don't. No, 1,000 times no. I hope you got that. Let's go back to Zuma.
I'm a son of these great leaders who taught me how to fight, how to respect, how to stand for the truth. Part of what has happened in the recent past, the organization that I served for many years was led by people who were no longer carrying out the policies and everything that the ANC stood for. And when this happened, when we were already said to be free, I found myself not being in a position to exercise what I thought was the manner of the ANC as an organization in this country. And I failed even when I tried to intervene. And it was as a reason of this that I decided, therefore, to establish Umkhonto weSizwe Party in order to do what I thought I was in this world for, to free our people, to make them have a better life than ever before. But it has been at this time that, again, I was tackled by the legal people in a democratic South Africa, as I was in an apartheid South Africa. I have had both. I went to prison without any trial. It has never been done even to those who are said to be the worst criminals in the world. I decided that as long as I am around and fit and thinking, I have to make a contribution to take this country to where we wanted it to be, a proper, free South Africa. Judges of the Constitutional Court have taken a decision. I can't exercise my freedom, my democracy. Where must I exercise it? In what way? Because I wanted to change South Africa to make the black people in particular free in a true sense of the word.
This is a problem with people like Jacob Zuma. Where does Jacob Zuma get the idea that he represents all of us blacks? Where does he get that from? How did he reconcile himself to the idea in his mind that we felt that we are not free? Is this not the same nonsense that he taught Julius Malema? Black people are not a monolith, nor are we all simpletons. We want to live in a country where there is law and order. We know what we fought for and we understand it very clearly. We fought against white domination and we fought against black domination. So right now, we have a constitutional republic wherein the constitution, meaning the rule of law, is a supreme law, not a law of the jungle, where any individual can just decide to do as they please. No, that's not what we fought for. That would be taking us back to the days that the kings ruled and their laws, their utterances or assertions was law. That's the law of the jungle. We don't want to go back there. Not at all. Now Zuma was called in to answer in the Zondo Commission, and he conducted himself in a disdainful, very disdainful manner during the Zondo Commission. He was very much uncooperative, very evasive, and I must add, a trait of guilty persons. Innocent people do not behave the way Zuma did in the Zondo Commission. Zuma was evasive and very disrespectful that during one of the breaks, he together with his legal team marched out of the Zondo Commission, did not even inform Chief Justice Zondo, who was the Deputy Chief Justice at the time. And now he wants to come out here as a victim. This is ridiculous. South Africa gave Zuma an opportunity to become a president, and this for 2 terms. In those 2 terms was a miserable failure as a president. I want to repeat that. In those 2 terms, Zuma was a miserable failure as a president. He capacitated a state capture and ran down almost all our institutions. Look at the Nugent report. Look at the Zondo Commission report. These reports do not speak gloriously about Jacob Zuma. Now you can deny and stand on your head all you like. The reality is Zuma is back at it again, spreading lies to those who are simpletons who can easily be deceived the same way he did prior to Pulukwane in 2008, 2007, 2008, where they ousted Mbeki. Remember, he deceived individuals who are very well-renowned. They were well-renowned then, and some of them are well-renowned today in our country. I've already mentioned their names. So who are you to think that he cannot deceive you? Ponder upon the facts that I'm sharing with you instead of being emotional and be quick typing that I'm an anti-Zuma person, because I'm not, but I'm pro-truth. That is why I can criticize Mandela. That is why I can criticize Mbeki. That is why I can criticize Ramaphosa, because I am pro-truth. None of us are perfect. None of our leaders are perfect. We should therefore not esteem them more highly than we ought to. It is untruthful that Zuma is being persecuted for no reason. His conduct in the commission was disgraceful for a person who's been a president for 9 solid years under what he now calls a Roman Dutch law. The question is, who is he trying to deceive? Why is an 82-year-old trying to behave like a 40-year-old? Why is an 82-year-old trying to incite violence in our country and incite division when you were president of South Africa? You never spoke the way that you do. At what point in time did you say the things that you are now saying when you were the president? When did you realize that we were not free, for an example? Why did you forget to tell us that when you were a president, you were a president of a people that were not free, therefore you were our oppressor? You were a president of a group of oppressed people. When did you realize this? Did you realize that during the time you guys ousted Mbeki in 2008? Or every time there is a decision made against you, then you must mobilize people so that you can get yourself out of the quagmire that you literally landed yourself into? Fellow South Africans, I don't really care who you voted for. I genuinely don't. It's no skin of my nose. But do not be simpletons. Think through what this man is telling you. This man is no different than Julius Silo Malema. He's an opportunist. He's a populist that seeks to rally around him, that he seeks you to rally around him so that he can continue buttering his bread on both sides. And the question is, what is it that such people have ever done for you? The worst thing that can ever happen in this country is that a civil war can break out because of people like this who seek to agitate others and tell them that they are living, and tell them when they are living in a free country that they are not. For those of you who did not live during apartheid, thank God. But I must point out this for you. What happened during the Zondo Commission and the Constitutional Court finding Jacob Zuma guilty of contempt of court cannot be compared to apartheid. It doesn't matter how many times Jacob Zuma repeats the lie. There is no parallel. There is no contrast between these two. Zuma was not jailed without trial. When he says that here, he is lying through his teeth. As a matter of fact, I'm about to show you. Zuma is on record himself claiming that he was in contempt of court. Listen to this.
Therefore, the judges said, took the instruction from the judge and charged me.
Yeah.
First of its own in the country. They are not there to deal with cases.
That you're in contempt of the commission, the summons that were issued.
Exactly. That if we take it, it should have been taken to a court, to a judge, to deal with me. Not the constitutional court.
Okay.
What was constitutional about that? There was nothing constitutional. It was just a question of me and him not agreeing. And if that happens, it must be taken to whether it's magistrate or the judge. Not constitutional court. There was no constitutional issue that was out of the way. It wasn't.
Now, just before we get to the point I'm trying to prove, it's important also to point out that Justice Zondo has got 2 master's degrees in law. And the justices that are sitting in the Constitutional Court, all 11 of them, are more degreed than a thermometer. That's a matter of speech, a manner of speech. They are more degreed than a thermometer. Zuma is not in a position to tell these people where this matter ought to have gone. Are you following me? He is a layman. He doesn't even have a matric. He is in no position to tell people who have studied law that much how his case ought to have been treated, except that he is arrogating to himself rights that are not enshrined in the Constitution. He is bringing the animal farm theory to alive in South Africa, where more animals that are in the farm are more equal than the others. That's what he is doing. There is no other individual faced with the same preposition that here is a summons against you, you have to appear before the court, that would have done what he did and not suffer the consequences that he suffered. As a matter of fact, he was treated with tremendous courtesy. Now let's continue to get to the point where he himself admits that he was in contempt of court, because I want you to hear that out of his mouth. so that you can establish that when he sits here in this sofa saying he was jailed for no reason, he is lying through his teeth. Because here in this interview with this girl, he admits that he was in contempt of court and he did that deliberately. Let's listen to this.
I said to him, and this is very true, you can't talk to me about this matter. I plead that to move aside, keep somebody else to talk to. Is that a constitutional issue? To be a case in the Constitution? I don't think so. If that is the case, then the South African democracy is something else. And they've been...
Who goes to court and say that to the judge, and the judge admits to that? That you and I can't have a discourse on this. Who does that? I'm deliberately interjecting because I want you to think about everything that Zuma is saying here, seeing that he's a chronic liar that doesn't have the ability to tell the truth. Let's continue.
Proving it bit by bit that indeed some of these things is just talk. It's not reality. Because they took an instruction from a judge of a commission, not even of a court.
Yeah.
Of a commission. and applied it. All they did was to lessen the judgment. Instead of 2 years, it was 15 months. And when the judges, they were saying I should come to court, I said I'm not coming. That is my right.
It's your right not to go to court.
To the court for what?
Did you guys hear that? When they say he should come to court, he said he wasn't coming. That is his right. Enshrined in which law? In which constitution? That's the law of the jungle. That's not the constitutional democracy within which we fought for, within which we live today. That which we fought for, that which we now live today. I hope you are following this. Here is his admission that he deliberately did not go to court. I want to rewind it. As a matter of fact, you can pick up that the girl herself is shocked. How are you going to give yourself a right not to go to court?
Of a commission, not even of a court.
Yeah. Of
a commission. and applied it. All they did was to lessen the judgment. Instead of 2 years, it was 15 months. And when the judges, they were saying I should come to court, I said I'm not coming. That is my right.
It's your right not to go to court.
To the court for what? For judges who are being instructed by theirs who only judging, the commission. Because they are judges. I don't believe that. The judges must respect the law. Firstly, Judge Zondo should have respected what I was saying. They should have said to Zondo, we have...
Oh my goodness. This is why no one should be a president of South Africa if they didn't go to school. Right here, he gives away where his lack of education is a factor in almost everything that he does. He's saying Justice Zondo, by the way, Justice Zondo was not a judge of a commission. Justice Zondo was a deputy chief justice of the highest court in the land. Hence, all judges in the land had to respect him. That's the first point. The second point, he only was appointed the head of that commission by reason of his position as a deputy chief justice. Had he not been deputy chief justice, he would not have been appointed in that position. So it's a misleading statement by him to keep referring to him as a judge of a commission. He was senior to those judges sitting in the Constitutional Court, and they knew it. The only person that was not senior to him was Mogoeng. And at that time, Mogoeng had already stepped aside, and Chief Justice Zondo was already acting as a Chief Justice in that position. So this is very important, but that is neither here nor there whether he was already acting, because I could be wrong about that, but I think it is factually correct. But that's neither here nor there. What is important is he was a Deputy Chief Justice, thereby being senior to all these others. Now, did you hear what Zuma said here? He said the judges ought to have obeyed the law because Justice Zondo ought to have listened to him. Did you understand that he's referencing himself as the law? He's referencing his assertions as law. So Zuma is one of those people who say, don't confuse me with facts, my mind is made up. He's one of those people who think that when they disagree with you, they have a right to be disagreeable because basically whatever he says as a dictator must go. When he finds people who can have their own original ideas that are different from his, he resists that. Can you see that? Now he thinks our law is based on the law of the jungle, is based on his opinions. Can you see that? That's why he misbehaved and misconducted himself. That's why he was sent to jail, like anyone else. And they issued a warrant for his arrest, like they do with you when you pile up tickets and you do not pay them. They issue a summons for you. Should they catch you on a roadblock, they don't negotiate with you, you go to jail. Why? Because there is a warrant for your arrest. And in his case, a warrant for his arrest was issued because he was in contempt of court, and should he not appear, or rather present himself at so date, he would then be arrested. You see, he placed himself in this position. I hope you saw that. If you have not seen that, I can't help you. I can't understand this for you. And perhaps you shouldn't be listening to this video either if you can't understand that. Zuma is guilty as sin here. Very clear. Now let's go back to his assertions on the other video.
That is the reason why I established the party. And I want this party to be the party that would be appreciated by everybody in South Africa, black and white. I want peace. I want equality. I want freedom. I want this country to be a country that serves its people, its citizens. It is not correct that the citizens of this country, who are supposed, according to the Constitution, to have the last say, as they say, that the majority rules in democracy. And why are they being deprived of that by the Constitutional Court?
Now, the majority would be denied of that right by reason of lawlessness, in the similitude that you conducted yourself and admitted in the video that I just played now, that you deliberately did not go there because you were not going to listen to the judges whose struggle credentials are questionable. He actually literally goes further to say that in that video. I am going to do a reaction video on that entire video. That's why I didn't play it in its entirety. And I also, of course, don't want to elongate this one unnecessarily. It is very important for you, however, to understand Zuma is now on record saying he was sent to jail for no reason, without a trial. Well, the trial did hold in his absence, just like a disciplinary hearing holds when an employee decides not to show up when they have been charged. A trial goes when you don't go to court and you do what Zuma has done to deliberately... remember, Zuma wrote to the court and told them he was not going to appear before them. That is why they then issued a warrant for his arrest. This is very important for South Africans to know. Remember, 350 souls lost their lives because of Jacob Zuma. And this is not spoken of enough. It's because of these lies that he spreads like this, where he says, I was arrested, to appear as a victim. He says, I was arrested for no reason. And he says, the Constitution of South Africa, wait a minute. This Constitution to which you don't believe in, you now want to plead to it? What exactly is your problem? Which exactly is it? Is it the law of the jungle or is it the Constitution? Because nobody who believes in the Constitution would act the way that you did. When you receive a summons or a contempt of court order, you appear before the court, you don't make a decision that I'm not going. That is absolute lunacy. The Constitutional Court does not require Zuma's permission to find him guilty of contempt. Zuma cannot have his cake and eat it. He became a president because of our constitutional democracy. Otherwise, in any self-respecting country, he would never have been a president. The Zondo Commission gave Zuma an opportunity to come back, and the Constitutional Court gave him a date to appear in court, and he decided not to go. And you've had him admitting to that in the previous clip I played for you. And now he claims he was jailed without a trial? Really? Wake up, South Africa. Wake up. It is because of our constitutional democracy that this man doesn't seem to recognize that his very democratic rights to which he is now referring can be protected. That Roman Dutch law to which he is referring, such rights are the ones he is referring to. He has them because of the very constitution which he vehemently disdains and seeks to disrespect at every opportunity. Well, that's what I wanted to share with you. Jacob Zuma is a charlatan. He managed to deceive many. He never deceived me, but and I'm not the only one who was not deceived by him. There's quite a few people who were not deceived by him. However, remember how leaders are voted for in this country. It's 4,000 people who go to a congress of a particular political party who decide based on how much money they get to receive there, as we learned with Ramadola in the congress. They can even change. They claim that they were sent by branches. I don't want to talk about that, but that's how a president is voted in this country. Those individuals claim to be carrying a mandate from branches, but that mandate can change depending on how much checks is the incumbent wannabe is willing to write to them. You understand? So Jacob Zuma was voted by the comrades, of which I'm not one of them. And these comrades were deceived by the three musketeers that I referred to, Blaine Zimande, Zwelinzima Vavi, and Julius Silo Malema. With their influence, they brought Jacob Zuma into presidency. Subsequently, they repented of their sin. They had a remorse, a buyer's remorse. But that was too little too late because Zuma had already ascended to the throne. That is why when anyone in the EFF talks about 9 wasted years, remind them it's because of you and your leader that we had the 9 wasted years. Remind them of that. Do not be fear. Julius Malema was willing to die for this man. Okay? Nevertheless, guys, that's it. I hope you understood what I'm trying to communicate to you. You need to stop and ponder, that is muse, deeply on what is happening in our political sphere. If you choose to say, I'm not a politician, I'm not interested in politics, well, you have a problem because politics decides how much you spend on bread and everything else. Whether or not you'll get that job that you want or that tender that you want or that business that you want, politics decides on that. How much tax you're going to pay in that business. Politics decide that. Basically, politics decides where you are going to stay, the quality of life you are going to live. So it's up to you. Really, it's up to you. I'm one of those people who believe strongly that if we stood up as patriots, one will dismantle the political party membership. And we will probably end up having a similar system than that of the US, where we only have 2 political parties. And we would be able to remove the political party as and when we choose to. I'm not saying that's what is happening in America, but I'm simply saying we would be able to remove the political party as and when we choose to as citizens because we're saying they are not doing our bidding. Right now, no political party in our parliament is doing the bidding of South Africa. They all are doing their bidding of themselves as individuals. How many times has the ANC protected Jacob Zuma? Mbalula is on record now that Jacob Zuma is forming a political party. Mbalula, Secretary General of the ANC, went on record to say, wenziwa ilento that the entire executive lied on your behalf, including himself as Mbalula. He said Zuma is behaving this way because they, as the executive, lied and called a swimming pool a fire pool. Collectively, jointly and severally. Well, it's the same nonsense that they are doing with Ramadola right now as we speak. It's no different. Hence, I'm saying they are not putting your agenda, your interest in the front. Again, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to influence your vote. It's post facto. You've already voted. But think on the things that I'm sharing with you. Okay? It's very, very important. I hope you will digest these facts and you'll see through Zuma's political propaganda and by extension, all those who seek to earn a living through lying to you. whilst you and I have to wake up early, go and run a business, have to wake up early and go to work. And they have to simply agitate you, make you angry against your fellow South Africans who happen to be different than you in skin color. Tomorrow, they are bringing that war directly to your fellow black Africans because they are of different tribe from you. Mark my words. Don't say I have not warned you. Until the next video, ciao, ciao. Bye for now.